Well, greetings, one and all, and welcome to another chapter of Tuppy Diggers. I'm your host, Montgomery Sterling McGale, accompanied by the lovely and talented Miss Sharon. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
All right, let's get right into it. Chapter 11 is entitled Bag Boy. Scouts were always there, just about weekly for many years. No matter where our young family ended up, we were in Scouts. Learning how to tie knots, make tourniquets and slings, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and the Heimlich maneuver, how to execute the J stroke in a canoe, build a raft with binder twine and logs, just a few of the skills one could earn merit badges for at Scouts. It was a blast. From Lloydminster to Edmonton to Spruce Grove, every group of scouts and the leaders offered a chance to explore new avenues of the human condition and sometimes come close to death.
Yikes.
Stay tuned. Scout Hall in Lloydminster was an old community building that smelled of vinyl flooring and feathers. Appended high on the walls were birds mounted by talented taxidermists. Eagles, hawks, and falcons in dynamic poses stared down at you. What once appeared as a distant speck in the sky was right in your face, ready to pounce. Big, imposing birds of prey with killer claws and beaks never lost its appeal. Jeff, 14. One of the Edmonton, Alberta, Canada troupe that met in the early 1970s. There weren't many fat kids in those days, and there weren't many lazy kids. Perhaps lazy is too strong a word. Let's use lethargic. Better. Jeff was a little slow at moving and didn't have the rambunctious energy that the rest of us seemed to overflow with. Wasn't enthused about anything. Could a fire be lit under him? Camping trips were always the aim of being a scout. Talking about the last one or planning the next one. Perhaps an overnight hike near home or a week-long adventure in the Rocky Mountains. Nothing had you excited like looking forward to spending time in the wilderness, traipsing about in bear country with a bunch of fun-loving lunkheads. Every outing was memorable. Jeff wasn't too keen on carrying a pack, nor hiking. Yet there he was, in the parking lot early Saturday morning, all geared and ready for a week-long escapade. Not a seasoned veteran, accustomed to the rough and tumble of setting up camp and living out of doors, his was a city world of doting parents and no other siblings. Equipment hung off him was spanking new. We looked in admiration as the latest lightweight aluminum framed nylon backpack. There were bells and whistles. Even his jeans were freshly pulled from a boutique's rack. Jeff seemed somewhat animated as we piled equipment and bodies into vehicles. Not our usual Jeff. Hours of driving finally had us near our destination, wilds of the Rocky Mountains near Jasper National Park. Jeff's buoyant humor had dwindled. Thought of hiking for hours and setting up camp showed on his face. Basic rule of hiking. Group moves at the speed of its slowest member. Jeff was that member. Frothing at the bit to arrive at our destination, we looked back and waited for an exhausted, chubby scout to bring up the rear. A leader behind him gave words of encouragement. Jeff had returned to his old self. Complaints of aches and multiple discomforts had the rest of us patiently bide our time. An occasional eye did an occasional roll. Make camp a chance to get the ball rolling. You are tired and look forward to building your nest where you'll hang your hat for the next few nights. Jeff dragged his feet in the unfamiliar situation. Had to be spoon-fed. Unpacking and setting up a tent didn't come easy. A number of us took him under our wings and did what scouts do, pitch in. Simplest of tasks were difficult for him. Grab a flat rock and pound those tent pegs in, someone said. Jeff sat on the ground and tapped at one of the pegs with a tiny rock. We looked at each other with certain incredulity as he went through the motions. We had him settled in record time, despite his help. Our little commune sat at the edge of a mountain lake. We were the only group of hearty souls to make it to this slice of paradise. Someone had been there many years before and may have tried to build a cabin. Remnants of a crudely built pier jutted 30 feet into the lake. Wooden slats were still sturdy enough to hold a group of us as we ventured out to its edge and marveled at our surroundings in the dying light of day one. Jeff, already curled up in his little two-man tent. Being a scout means you are a communist, through and through, an honest-to-God card-carrying communist. Someone who swears allegiance to country, flag, and queen to uphold the values of cooperation and unity. That's what we did, and we loved it. Workload was gladly shared by all. You four, go gather small twigs and dry bark. You three, get busy bringing bigger branches. You two, drag some of the biggest, driest pieces of dead wood you can find. You guys are chopping and stacking. You're building the fire. And we're going to start gathering breakfast supplies from the hanging food bags. Okay, let's go. 20 of us were busy beavers. Having been up for over an hour, we looked forward to a hearty breakfast. Fire needed to be built, and a production line of food prep would soon spit out victuals. Where was Jeff? Wiping sleep from his eyes, enjoying a slow start. Eventually he showed for breakfast. Carried a couple of twigs for the woodpile. In a commune, when someone doesn't pull their weight, things have a way of working out that imbue all with a sense of balance. For the next few days, life progressed the way they usually did in a scout camp. Abundant running around, skipping stones, game of capture the flag, and brave attempts at swimming in the icy lake. Each morning, Jeff's tent mate was out of his sleeping bag and joined us in the pre-breakfast burning of calories and chores. Yelling at Jeff to drag his lazy butt out of bed proved fruitless. We connived amongst ourselves for the rest of the day how we could possibly motivate our young friend to rise with the rest of us and be more of a commie. Berating and cajoling fell on deaf ears. Bribes and appeals to his manhood had the same effect. A zero. It was clear a progressive plan of action was needed. Easiest way to predict the future is simply look at the past. Next morning, we were not shocked to see Jeff languishing in his sleeping bag. We admonished him to rise and join us. Nothing. Told him dire consequences would be brought to bear if he didn't become vertical. He mumbled something. Signal was given. 4 of us sprang to action. Tent flap was whipped open. A drowsy Jeff was pushed into his sleeping bag, and the drawstring quickly tied shut with a slip knot.
Oh no!
Dragged out of his tent, he was now captured. A cat in a sack.
What did your scout leaders do?
Squirmed and screamed, we bodily picked him up and carried the wobbly, noisy mass to the end of the pier.
No, 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 no.
Threw him in the ice-cold lake. 3.5 feet of water might as well be 100 feet when your head is under. That's where Jeff was, underwater, enjoying his water bed.
Oh.
Being good scouts, we were prepared, had thought our plan through. I had hold of the sleeping bag's top where Jeff's noggin was. 20 seconds into his plight, I pulled the bag and had Jeff's head above water. He could breathe, cough, and curse. Cussed a mean streak from inside his soggy sack. Seemed to be in a bit of a panic. Jeff's blue language and volume had the attention of the entire camp of pre-breakfast revelers. I slowly walked along the pier, dragged Jeff and his big wet sack towards shore. I yelled at our cat in the bag, "Going to get up on time tomorrow?" He cussed. I exclaimed his response to be invalid, dipped his head underwater, repeated the question, receive the proper response and more four-letter friend finders. Dragged him to a sitting spot in 6 inches of water. Entire troop now gathered at the lake. Undid the slip knot, his soaked head birthed from the bag. Huffed, puffed, and coughed, Jeff cussed his way out of the sloppy sleeping bag, sat on the shore, spent. Everyone looked down at him. Jeff stewed in his fully clothed juices. Too lazy to undress at night, slept with everything on, including shoes.
Oh no.
All was soaked. We ran off to a hearty breakfast and left him to sort his mess. Feeling our wisest course of action was to disappear and let things cool down, 4 of us grabbed a few hunks of jerky and went exploring. Returned to camp mid-afternoon. A sight caught our curious eyes. Roped-off area in the midst of our encampment. 2 strands of strong nylon made a crude square of about 15 feet and resembled what we thought to be a wrestling ring. One of our leaders was wise enough to have packed a couple pairs of boxing gloves on the off chance they would come in handy. Very astute.
Oh my goodness.
Announcement. Pre-meal appetizer of a pugilistic nature was to be enjoyed by all. We thought this should be entertaining. First combatants shall be Jeff and Monty. Of course. Not being a devotee of the squared circle, but having spent years under the constant care of older male siblings and extended family sadists, I felt reasonably confident in my ability to put up a fair showing. Then I caught a glimpse of the devil himself. Jeff was decidedly disheveled. Looked like Jeff spent the day rubbing sand in his face and doing his level best to make his curly shock of brown hair stand on end. My confidence went limp as he stood at the opposite side of the ring, hitting his gloves together
My goodness.
and burning a hole through me with laser beams from bloodshot eyes. We were read the riot act. 2-minute rounds, no biting, no eye gouging, no headbutts, no hitting below the belt. In case of a knockdown, go to your corner. Do you understand? Jeff nodded a quick assent. Masking my mounting nervousness, I said I couldn't promise anything. That was interpreted as a yes. Ring announcer / referee / provider of first aid stood at center ring and barked, "Box!" Ref barely had time to back away. Jeff boiled across the ring. In 15 feet, his chunky legs and bouncing bare belly propelled him toward me with breakneck speed. Boxing gloves and rules be damned, Jeff was out for blood.
Oh my goodness.
Where did all this newfound energy come from? Leaving himself completely open and vulnerable, his actions provided me with my first salvo. I held up a straight arm and let his rapidly moving face, backed by mass and velocity, run square into my glove. Proved a mighty blow. Sent him backwards on his arse. Slight trickle of noseblood surprised me more than him, as I don't think he was even aware of it. Blind with rage was Jeff. Both of us stood at center ring. Entire troop looked on as we met mano a mano. Rather, egg beater to egg beater. Wailed on each other with all our might. Blow after glancing blow, nothing made its mark. After 30 seconds of intense fury and pugilistic panic, both of us slowed to a standstill. Standing there, leaden arms at our sides, plenty of time left in the round, we gulped for air. When I could form words, I asked, "Had enough?" Couple of puffs later, he managed a curt, "No." We were able to raise arms and do another 10 seconds of low-intensity flogging. A minute and a half of adrenaline-fueled fighting. We stood there, bare chests heaving. Ref asked if we were done. Jeff and I both nodded, told to shake hands. We clumsily bumped gloves. Sound sleep was had by all that night. Next morning, no coercion needed. Jeff was up with the troop. His help with breakfast and cleanup was noted by the commune. all was right in our socialist circle. A day later, we packed and hiked out. Sense of contentment and fraternity pervaded our little band of merry men. We trekked a different route on the way back to explore new vistas. No use covering the same trail if you don't have to, quipped one of our smiling leaders. Half hour of hike was with fairly full packs, had the blood pumping. Rhythmic striding released more feel-good chemicals that lifted our mood. Jeff kept pace, New Zeal in a young man. Such was our state of mind when we broke through the woods to a clearing by a brisk stream. Swollen with glacial runoff from surrounding peaks, stream was green with icy water. A beautiful sight. With cupped hands, we drank our fill. Refreshed, headed downstream. Along the small river's bank, we noticed a length of rope tied to sturdy trees on either side. Our leaders stopped and turned to their quickly gathering charges and proclaimed, "This is where we cross the river." I was overcome with a sense of foreboding. The stream was only about 20 feet across. Total length of the rope's traverse was a mere 30 feet. No, this did not concern me. We all had the ability to hook legs over a rope and pull ourselves 30 feet. Piece of cake. My angst lay elsewhere. A dozen had made it safely across with little drama, including Jeff. My turn. A few of us and a leader were still on the wrong side of the river. I received the nod, grabbed hold of the rope and kicked my legs over, started my traverse. Sag of rope put me about 4 feet above water, halfway across. I thought, I'm going to make it. No such luck. Rope started to sway. How did I know this was about to happen? Strong arms on both banks moved the sturdy rope with a certain gusto. Held on with all my strength.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't dare loosen my grip, tried to advance to the other bank, was whipsawed back and forth with enough momentum to slingshot me to the moon. Called upon reserves of strength to outlast my swinging foes and make it to the dry shore. Violent back and forth action had me dizzy with blurred vision. Could not discern up from down. Vision went green. Took a moment for my brain to register this new state of being. Was underwater, fully clothed, with pack, being swept swiftly downstream. So dizzy and out of sorts was my adult thought process, I had no idea what to do. There was only one thing I could do, the egg beater. Thrashed my arms like a man in imminent danger of his life ending. Flailed like there was no tomorrow, head popped above the surface, filled my lungs with cool air, eyes caught sight of land just a few feet in front of me, had no idea if it was the right bank or the wrong, didn't give a damn. Scrambled out of the water, up the incline of the shore, took all my strength. I lay there, regained some senses. It was the right bank. How my spectacles stayed appended to my noggin, I'll never know. Few of my fellow commies stood over me. I accepted outstretched hands to help me up. Tumble and scramble had taken me about 50 yards downstream. Not far in the grand scheme of things, but an eternity in the world of near-death experiences. Water dripped from everything I possessed, 20 pounds heavier, maybe 30. Group marched past our position. There was Jeff, lightly stepping as if buoyed by angels on a blanket of clouds. Grinned like a giddy schoolgirl. Where did all his joy come from? Well played indeed.